Hello, I'm Joshua,
And I'm Leah,
and we would like to thank you for listening to the Reasonably Prepared podcast.
a preparedness resource for the complete beginner,
We are here to help you on your preparedness journey.
without the paranoia, fear, and doomsday often associated with preparedness.
If you find our podcast helpful, please subscribe and leave a comment letting us know. And now,
On to the show.
Reasonably Prepared. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Wayne.
You're welcome.
Dude, this is my friend, my closest, oldest friend, Wayne. We have gone on more adventures together and done the craziest stuff out of anybody else that I know. I mean, it's true. And, you know, even with my brother. Anyway, so we were yapping yesterday because you're down here visiting about this one hunting event we went on together.
Event's a good name.
Event. Yeah, we'll call it an event. And so I was like, bro, we just have to discuss this for people on a podcast. And we go over today, in this story, we're going to talk about the importance of a lot of the things most preppers or preparedness people discuss. Only difference is they discuss it.
We live it.
You and I put ourselves through the paces.
Yeah.
So to give everybody a backstory, once again, Wayne and I have been hunting together every year, with the exception of the last couple of years since we've moved and
Since you abandoned me.
since I abandoned you,
Yeah.
since I abandoned California. Booyah, California! Take it,
Yeah.
suck it. Anyway, every hunting season for the better part of okay, how long have I known you? When did we meet?
2012 or 2013, I believe.
That's when we met.
Yeah.
And it was immediate, dude, we need to start hanging out,
Yeah.
right? And in a lot of ways, we're two entirely different people.
Yeah. Like, there's no way, had we not been where we were, that we probably ever would have talked.
Right, exactly right. Two entirely different people. But formed a very deep, awesome friendship over the last many years with a lot of craziness. Adventures with our families and our kids and each other. So anyway, I want to say it was like the third or fourth hunting season you and I had been out together.
It might have been the second.
The second?
It might have been.
Because the first one was epic also.
Yeah.
The first deer season.
It was lame, but we had fun.
But it was epic.
Yeah.
It rained more and hailed on us more that season.
It was the third season then.
That had to be the third season.
It was the third season.
Okay. So, we talk a lot on this channel, on this podcast, like it's YouTube. I'm getting the two mediums confused. Specifically for the absolute beginner to intermediate, or to give perspective that's not just theoretical. There's a lot of preparedness stuff it's almost all what could happen, what might happen, as you know, but grandiose what could happen.
Hypotheticals.
Yeah,
Lots of
crazy hypotheticals. Crazy hypotheticals. And it gets a little frustrating for people, even for me, when it goes from like 0 to 100 almost instantly sometimes, and it basically goes from 0 to nuclear war.
Yeah.
In a moment or two, and the reality is, being prudent and being prepared to some degree on some very key aspects are very important for regular, normal, everyday life. Because it doesn't matter if we're like you and me in the woods, deep in the woods, like we're going to talk about, but even just on a long car trip.
Yeah.
You know, long car trip going from, one state to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So what we talk about is it applies to all of those mediums, from basic everyday traveling to and from work. Oh man, there we go. To and from work, or a big event like we're going hunting for 4 or 5 days way out in the middle of nowhere and we're stuck if something happens.
Yeah.
But the story, this one hinges, it starts on, and it's funny because in this story that we were laughing about it yesterday,
yeah,
are many preparedness bullet points. Okay, many things, like you need to think about this and you need to think about that, because this could actually happen. Fire can actually happen. Tornadoes can actually happen. But so this all hinges on not having a functioning spare tire in your vehicle and not having a car jack.
If we would have just had the jack, we could have, or if we would have just had the tire, we could have made the jack thing work. We had enough manpower.
Well, or at least enough redneck ingenuity to figure out how to get that thing changed, right?
Yeah.
But
I don't even think we had like a lug wrench.
No. So here's the story. Me and Wayne, I think third year knowing each other, and after 3 years we've become really close. Our families are really close. We plan a hunting trip out in the Trinity County, Trinity National.
Yeah, Shasta Trinity National Forest.
Yeah, Shasta Trinity National Forest. Deep into the forest. And I had just purchased a Jeep Cherokee. It was a 1998 Jeep Cherokee, and by just purchased I mean like 4 days before the trip, I purchased this vehicle. And I want to say, so your truck was connected to the camper and camping gear in the trailer and stayed in camp.
Yes.
Yeah, stayed in camp. And we all decided, well, we'll just roll down the log and dirt roads and get deeper into the woods with the Jeep. Mm-hmm. So there we did all morning, deeper and deeper and deeper into the woods. Now, typically, you and I both are very, very good at making sure that we have
too much stuff
in our vehicles. Literally, like, if it can go in there because we might use it, it's in there. From knives to rope, cordage, to tools, to axes, to hatchets, to chainsaws, and
it's usually redundant.
It's always redundant, especially when the two of us are together. Mm-hmm. It's wildly redundant. And then there's a couple of things where maybe I might be deficient in that you have, or you might have that I don't, kind of a thing. But typically we overlap pretty good, and we live pretty good in the woods.
Yeah.
Once we get out there. So at this point, I hadn't gone through my vehicle at all. I was just excited to get out in the woods and go hunting. So we all just jumped in the Jeep and rolled. Old tires. And there was nothing in there except what we had in our packs. Mm-hmm. So it was you, me, Trey, your oldest son, Trey, and Erica, your wife. Erica was with us, right? She had to be.
We had all the kids.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Wait, not all the kids, just your kids.
Yeah, just my kids, but all of my kids.
So we had Zachy and Cody also?
Yeah.
I remember, so my memory is more Trey, because poor Trey was terrified by the end of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, he was not happy. So driving deep into the woods, we blow a tire.
Well, do you remember where we were going?
Oh, we found this one like base that we're like, hey, we can set up camp here, and then from here we can walk deeper into the woods to try to find the deer.
Yeah.
Right?
And we had found it, and we're like, well, let's show Erica and the boys.
Yeah, that's right. We're like, because we might want to just...
We should have just looked at it and left it.
No, because we wanted to set up camp there. It was a better campsite than where we were. We're like, hey, let's show... I remember now. Let's show Erica and the boys, see if they like it, and if they do, we'll just move camp here, because we're not really into this yet. We had just... I want to say we had just parked our stuff. We haven't even set up camp yet.
Yeah, we parked it for the night.
And so, I don't know how many miles into this one canyon we finally drove down. Could you guesstimate how many miles it was?
I think we were 2.5, 3 miles down in.
Easy.
From the Ridge Road, yeah.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know, if you live in a place like Texas where everything is flat, or the flyover states, or even the East Coast where the mountains aren't quite like they are, west of the Rockies, the mountains in California are just massively tall, pointy peaks, and then massively pointed valleys. They're thousands and thousands of feet in elevation really fast.
Yeah.
And so that's right. This one was almost near the bottom of this one canyon, this campsite. Boom, pop tire. It was shocking.
On the way out. Or no, it was on the way in.
On the way in. We were almost there. It was.
Yeah.
We walked to the campsite.
Yeah.
Because it was 400 yards away.
Yeah.
Right? We're like, all right, well, we'll deal with this. Let's go look at the campsite, and then we'll change the tire. We'll come back. And we'll change the tire. So we get back to the vehicle, And having owned this Jeep for 4 days, we're like, all right, we'll grab the jack, we'll put the spur on, we'll get back up to camp, we'll figure out trying to get what we're gonna do. We'll figure out what we're gonna do. So we start digging through the Jeep. No jack, none at all. And then we pull out the spare tire, thinking, you know what, get the spare tire out because we're gonna redneck engineer this thing. We're getting this tire on. No air.
Nope.
Flat as pancake. Crap.
Big crap.
We have to hike out now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't recall everybody being like, I know we were a little stressed because we're like, okay, after trying to finally figure out, okay, there's no way, we have to leave the Jeep here and we have to walk out.
Yeah.
We wrangle the kids up, we grab all of our gear.
Which was a lot of gear.
It was a pretty fair amount of gear. It was both our packs, rifles, kids stuffing.
No, it was mainly weapons.
Well, yeah, because I didn't want to leave them all in a Jeep in the middle of the woods. It didn't lock.
No, it did lock.
Okay, so this was a beater vehicle too, by the way. This was just a beater thing that I could take out in the woods and beat the crap out of, and that's why I bought it. So one of the doors didn't lock. The driver's side door didn't lock. And then that was the Jeep that I had a bad habit of. Well, when we lived out in Northern California, my keys never left the ignition. They were always in the ignition. Anyway, all that to say. So now we have to hike out several miles to get to camp just to figure out what we're going to do and drive into town, get a spare, get a car jack, do all that kind of stuff. And you are type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Did you have your shot with you?
Yeah.
So did you crash or did you go high?
I crashed.
You crashed.
Yeah.
Okay. So
multiple times.
Yeah, when I earlier in the week was shopping. I always try to keep as much diabetic stuff as I can now for you. Whatever I can buy over the counter is everywhere in anything I own because of this instance. Now, before that, call it the Holy Spirit or God talking to me or whatever. I felt like, okay, I need to buy these few things and put them in my pack just in case we need them. And at that point, I didn't really know anything about, other than that you had diabetes, about diabetes, like how to manage it for you or with you, what happens when you crash, what happens when you go too high. And we're really good at reading each other now.
Yeah.
You know? But I had no idea. I wasn't educated at all. You had to educate me there. So we've got Erica, you, Trey, Cody, and Zach. How old are they? Tell everybody how old the kids are because it's easy to...
So Trey was probably 10 or 11. He was probably 11 at the time.
Right.
And then Cody would have been 9 and Zach like 7.
Okay, so they're young.
Yeah.
Young. So bullet point number 1. Up front right now, to be prepared, make sure you have a functioning spare and a functioning jack in your vehicle.
And a tire iron.
And a tire iron. Yeah, I guess it's the trifecta there because you're not doing anything without a tire iron. So make sure you have the ability all the time to change a spare and you know how to change a spare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So practice. So figure it out. Ask somebody who knows how. So that's my point number 1 here. That all of this, everything else behind this, because we could not change spare tire. So now, that's it. We have to start walking. I don't know how long it took. It was like half an hour, 40 minutes later, and you're like, guys, I'm feeling pretty low. And Erica's like, oh, crap, I didn't bring anything.
I think I started eating before any of it all happened. I think I started because I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get low. I'll eat something, and I ate something.
That's where I was going with this. Something told me while I was at, what's the grocery store? Grocery outlet. While we were in grocery outlet.
Shameless name plug.
Buy protein bars and some sugar. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was Lifesavers.
Yep.
Those the
little
rolls of Lifesavers and protein bars. So I grabbed a whole box of protein bars and then a box of rolls of those Lifesavers. Who the hell knew it would turn out to be Lifesavers? So walking, you're physically depleting yourself. We have a lot of our stuff, and boom, you start crashing. And when you take insulin, it's been a while. I mean, because you're trying to bring yourself back up, right? Or the insulin
takes you down.
Right? Insulin takes you down, right? But you don't need insulin. You're crashing, and we're hours from camp.
Yeah,
hours.
There's no cell service, nothing out there.
Hours from camp, and
everybody that knew where we were going to be was with us.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, Leah, my wife, knew where we were, but she wasn't coming out on the trip this time.
Yeah,
it was just us. We were just going for a weekend trip, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it was just us hiking out. So hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and you start getting lower and lower and lower. I mean, when you're crashing like that, for anybody listening who doesn't know and isn't educated enough, as a diabetic, type 1, insulin dependent, like, what happens to your mind and your body as we have to keep going. I'm trying to keep us motivated. You know, your wife isn't understanding. She's trying to communicate with me and help me out. But what's going through your mind in the middle of the woods, if you can remember?
I don't necessarily remember that particular situation, because that's part of the effects of, low blood sugar like that it's almost like a drunken state.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So neurologically you're not all there.
Yeah, because you start slurring.
Yeah, you start slurring your words.
You get like a white around here. Yeah, your eyes gloss over.
You sweat profusely.
Yes. You look like to me like you were overdosing. Like you were, because
technically, yeah, I guess it wouldn't really be overdosing, but
underdosing maybe. You're deficient for sure.
You're deficient in the sugar that's contained in your blood normally, mm-hmm. that keeps feeding your brain and stuff like that. So yeah, you're basically starving your brain.
Oh God, it was totally scary, but we keep pushing on now. I think so. How much does sugar and protein bars help in this scenario? Because I mean, is it what got us out alive?
I mean, it's what got us out. But at the same time, when you're exerting that much energy, mm-hmm. you're burning those sugars up so fast that, because I mean, if you remember, it was September, October.
It was hot. Crazy hot.
It was probably where we were, probably
up there,
80 degrees, 85, 90 degrees.
Easy.
So it was, and then we're packing all our gear out. Mm-hmm. And we had
plenty of gear. We'll just say that. Yeah. We had plenty of gear. Because the intent was to set up camp, and then you and I would strip down just when we would day hike in and out, and we would lean out our gear and have just what we needed for. Anyway, so hours go by, and you just keep getting worse.
Yeah.
And
it would come up a little bit, and then it'd crash, and then it'd come up, and then it'd crash.
Eat something, and you'd crash, and you're sweating, and now you're slurring, you're not making any sense, and you're poor. So I don't know that Cody or Zachy at the time were old enough to really, really be as aware. They knew something was wrong.
They knew my blood sugar was low.
But Trey, who loves his dad, so I mean, all your kids love you so much, but at this time, his cog is old enough to understand what's happening, and he's terrified.
Yeah,
he's very afraid, and so folks, it got to the point where you could not walk.
No, I was so. My body basically went into a starvation state, and it just, I couldn't bend my knees, I couldn't move my legs. I was just. You were under, and that was like the last leg of the trip. We're like,
Oh, actually, rewind for a little bit. So you're getting. I remember this now. You're getting worse and worse and worse. The kids are getting nervous. Eric is nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep a cool, level head the entire time and kind of keep us all mentally on track and afloat. And so Eric and I would stop. We'd talk, get a grip, and then we keep going. Sometimes, this is also a case in point. There were people we met up with some folks. No, I know. tell how angry you are. Seriously.
Yeah, that still to this day pisses me off to no extent.
We're in dire straits.
We looked dead.
Eric and I are all but completely carrying you at this point. And along come some other hunters, and this is just a case in point about, well, number one, it's the suckiest part of society to me.
Yeah.
What society might be like. These are lower denominator type people, so I can't say all of society can be that way, but it is a case in point where you can't just inherently trust everybody to be good Samaritans and help you.
Yeah.
When you're in need, you still have to figure out a way, like prepare to do it alone, but always be seeking out, trying to help other people and live in community, right?
Yeah.
But we're about 2/3 of the way, maybe 3/4 of the way,
3/4,
almost to camp, and we meet up with some people, not on a quad. They were in
side
by side, right? They're in a full side by side, and there's only two of them.
Just 3.
Was there somebody in the back seat?
There was one guy in the driver's seat and 2 people out talking still.
Okay, right on. Oh, that's right. They didn't. We walked up on them. We walked up on them, and they didn't want to have anything to do. So we're trying to ask, hey, can you guys help? We just need to get to camp over here. And I don't know if they didn't trust us because of what we looked like. And I'm like, and nothing.
No.
Stared at us like we murdered somebody and we're walking out of the woods and we just buried them in the woods. And then they're like, well, I don't know. Well, we had this thing we were going to do, and they just jump in their thing and they roll.
Yeah.
They leave us.
Yeah.
You're half dead, and they just no. Can we help? Is there something wrong?
Not only that, like there's a lady and 3 kids there too.
Yeah, little kids
in flip-flops.
Yeah, because the whole point was we were just going to show them and then drive back up and come back down. Right? Yeah. It was just a little scouting thing. There was we weren't going into the woods to hunt at this point.
No.
So these idiots, these a-holes, leave us. Holy crap! So now, look to wrap up the rest of the story. We obviously you're alive.
Yeah. You
made it to camp. Well, and we made it to camp. It was many hours later. In fact, it was enough hours that it was at this point it was dark.
Yeah, we walked in the dark.
We walked to camp in the dark with the flashlights we had in the pack.
Yeah.
Which thank goodness you and I always have flashlights. Mm-hmm. Always. So we get into camp, and and you can't do anything. You're completely incapacitated. Somebody has to stay with you while we go do what we need to do. Did you run out of insulin? Because there was something we had to go get stuff for you.
Ran out of sugar.
Oh, I keep thinking that's right. You ran out of the right sugar. We completely ran out of sugar.
Completely ran out of
everything. You
had
consumed it all.
Yeah.
And there was none in camp. I had to go back into town.
There was stuff in camp because that's where I just sat there and.
But there were no sodas. The reason being, I remember Trey being like, "No, I don't want to stay. What if Dad dies?"
Yeah, and that was just because of the past couple hours that he had to go through.
And we're like, "He's not going to die now."
Because I had the food there to
everything's going to be good, bud. We just need you to stay with Dad because we have to go into town and get all the crap for the Jeep now to get it fixed.
Yeah.
So we can come back and fix it. And poor kid's crying. I mean, I think Cody and Zachy were so tired they were just
they just passed out.
They just passed out and went to bed.
Yeah.
They just passed out and went to bed. And Trey's weeping, and we're trying to console him. And I mean, there's a lot of dynamic that happens in an elevated emergency situation that is only fantasy when you're reading about it.
Yeah.
It's only fantasy. And so I just wanted to talk the story through to give anybody listen that the real world, real time, this can happen. So the importance of several different things. Number one, we already talked about spare tire and being able to have the crap in there. You want to make sure you've got plenty of food and water on you and in your vehicle at all times.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what.
Yeah.
If you break down on the side of the highway on a long trip with your family in it, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
If you blow 2 tires at once and you can only have one spare, literally, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you're depending on, we'll just going from convenience store to get your snacks, that's not wise.
No.
Because if you've got to walk and you can't depend on other people who are driving by, it's certainly not in today's day and age. People are pretty much in their own world now. And thank God there are some good Samaritans who might want to help. But generally speaking, we've become a pretty distrustful society, and people are like, oh, they're walking on the side of the highway. I don't know if I want to. You can't do that. You can't talk to people anymore.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure you've got some provisions just in case, or you break down at night.
Yeah.
You know, that's number 2, is to make sure you got food and water and provisions. Number 3, bro, I got myself to the point in the last number of years, except for very recently, where I was a fat tub of lard, wildly out of shape, lazy, and being with you specifically, doing life with you like we were doing, having the property, constantly working the property, constantly working your property, constantly. I was in pretty good condition.
Yeah.
Enough that we did this.
Yeah.
6 months ago, if it had happened again 6 months ago, I wouldn't have hiked out of that canyon.
I'll wait.
Well, no, I would have tried.
Yeah.
But there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Knowing how lazy I had gotten and how much beer I put in my belly, there's no way I couldn't have done it. So the importance of being somewhat physically fit.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, being able to do lawn work for a whole day and
yeah.
Being able to just be, getting out every morning for 20 minutes and just walking. Get your body used to that motion. So if you break down the side of the road, you can walk to the next gas station and your feet aren't killing you and you don't have blisters and you're not hurting yourself. And so one hunting trip, one day, one bad tire, we do the gamut of medical preparedness,
Yeah.
food preparedness, physical fitness preparedness, and mental preparedness.
Yeah. And surprisingly, we actually did well on water.
Oh,
We
yeah.
never ran out of water.
No, we had water. If it had lasted another day,
If it had lasted a few more hours.
yeah, like
we
you
would've
haven't
been
continued to go, but we had enough water to get out of that scenario.
Yeah.
Which typically in my vehicles I do. I have enough water basically for a whole day, for a whole day.
Yeah.
So I have at least 1 gallon of typically I have 1 gallon of water for me in my vehicle, and then it'd be a half a gallon for each person to at least have. And usually we have some sort of drink or things like that anyway when we're traveling to. But man, this is the biggest, most massive case in point. And I know we're winging it, it's no real format today, but just the story alone, I'm hoping, is to get people's minds engaged on, okay, it doesn't have to be World War III. It doesn't have to be a zombie apocalypse. Give me other ridiculous scenarios that people come up with. They're not ridiculous. It's not that they're ridiculous. I just said that like it was condescending, but far-fetched. They don't have to be so far-fetched. Especially going down the list of things. I mean, you and I have been evacuated from our homes because of fire.
Yeah.
Right. We've had to run from wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done so much crap wrong. We've injured our bodies, and so hanging out with you is one of the biggest litmus tests for being properly prepared. That I've always been preparedness minded. Actually, what we have is me being preparedness minded and studying about it and knowing about it, and you being the ready, fire, aim type person who's like, I'll figure it out. And when I figure it out, I'll add that to the repertoire. And teaming up. Now we get our bases covered a lot, which is really good. Which is why I'm glad to do life with you. But hopefully, hiking out of the woods with a diabetic is a real world scenario people can wrap their head around, and to maybe take some action.
It brings another level of difficulty into every situation.
The diabetes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But if you're smart with it, it's totally functional.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I wish I had stats. A lot, like, I don't know what the stats are, the percentage of people in America with type 1, not type 2, but type 1 diabetes. I mean, it's a lot. I personally know, right?
It's a lot, but it doesn't hold a candle to type 2.
No, but type 2 is more manageable in this type of scenario, right?
Unless you let your type 2 get to type 1, you become insulin dependent, and then it really sucks.
Oh.
I'd trade my shots for pills any day.
Yeah, pills and diet.
Yeah.
Because
I would just stick to the diet and say the heck with it.
I'm pretty sure my dad got type 2.
Yeah.
A number of years ago was diagnosed and dramatically changed his life. And I believe now he's not pill dependent anymore, and he's reversed it, but he's behaving as though he has diabetes. So he's basically formed a rhythm where he's, being healthy enough now that he won't ever get it again.
Yeah.
And formed a discipline.
It'll always be there.
Yeah.
But if he just continues on, his diet and exercise regimen, then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's livable.
Yeah.
Type 1, usually you get it as a kid and you're stuck with it. There's no way around it.
Right.
So.
Goodness gracious. And then we have lots of stories we can tell. Yeah. And once you get moved down here, we're going to tell a bunch more, and we'll organize them so they're a lot more fun and entertaining, because I'm going to have you on the mic.
Let me add one more thing about spare tires.
Spare tires, do it.
2018. Bought my new truck.
The white one?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened?
I went hunting.
Same thing happened?
No, actually, same thing happened. But we were on the east side. So up in C Zone.
Oh.
And
holy crap.
We're driving along this ridge, and one of the kids was in the bed of the truck.
Tamarack and all that area, or?
No, over Big Bend area.
Oh, okay, right.
And one of the kids is in the back of the truck, and they're like, Dad, I hear something hissing. And I jump out, and I'm like, oh, crap.
Dude, the shale in Northern California will eat up your tires.
It pushed. It wasn't even a shale rock, but it pushed a rock through the tread diagonally.
Dude.
Through the tread and starts hissing. So
if you're running 2-ply or under 6.
These are load range E
Okay,
pliers.
I'm just saying. All I know is you can run over a tiny little thing in 2-ply tires out in Northern California, and that's it. You're shredding your tires.
I floored it back to camp. Jump out, jack the truck up. I had the jack. I had everything.
Yeah, but now
I had just bought the truck like the week before.
Yeah, but bro, also I know this too, because of that scenario. That's when you went out and you're like, bro, high lift jacks. I'm not messing around with this crap anymore. You went out and bought the high lift because you're like, I'm not even dealing with not having a high lift type jack anymore ever. Not after walking out of the woods and almost dying. Yeah. So that was the catalyst for us to get real jacks. Also, not those chits, but. Even the chintzy scissor lift one is better than absolutely nothing. Something, absolutely.
But I get back to camp, and first the other thing, make sure your spare tire doesn't have a lock on it, or if it does, make sure you have the key.
No.
We ended up cutting the spare tire cable so we could get the spare tire out. And when we got the spare tire out, it was flat.
Because you had just bought the truck.
I just bought the truck.
So...
Luckily, I had another vehicle there, and I just drove to my house and got an air tank.
Yeah.
Because I was only 45 minutes from home.
Yeah. So I'm putting together a whole video with Caleb, with his brand new truck. Before he's allowed to drive it, we're going through there's no joke. I did the same thing with Leah's car. I'm doing the entire checklist of what you have to have in your vehicle before you are allowed to go out and drive it, period. And it's the simplest.
Make sure there's lifesavers.
Lifesavers. In case any of your friends are diabetic.
Or anybody.
Actually, anybody.
Yeah.
You can be the good Samaritan if those a-holes weren't. Oh, man. They still get me, man.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This is Conversations with Wayne. This is Reasonably Prepared. Well, I hope that everybody takes this to heart and doesn't get themselves all worried and worked up about crazy doomsday scenarios, and just is with a higher desire to serve and love their community, and hopefully this story helps out a little bit with a little bit better, more down to earth perspective on why some of us believe in and enjoy being reasonably prepared.